Hi everyone, it's Lisa from Been There Got Out, and tonight's guest, now we're going on for real, is Dara Marias. She is from Las Vegas, Nevada, and she and I met. I see you, Dara. I'm just going to invite you in. She and I at the amicable divorce conference in Nashville. I hope this works. Yes, it's always really.
We did
Yeah,
it.
so yeah. So we just met last month for the first time, and I keep thinking it's ironic that Chris and I, who are high conflict divorce strategists and coaches, went to an amicable divorce event, and Dara does holistic, like peaceful, amicable divorce. But the reason that we went is because we want to meet professionals like Dara who try to keep our clients and community out of court because our people are dealing with legal abuse and a difficult ex who often tries to weaponize the legal system by wearing them down and bleeding them dry financially. And we don't want to let that happen. And so it's wonderful to meet professionals who could try to help alleviate the pain and the costs that you're going through. So, Dara, could you now introduce yourself for real and say a little bit about what you do, and then we'll start talking about holistic divorce.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to interact with professionals who are trying to help people just get through this process a little bit easier. So my name is Dara Marias, and I'm an attorney in Las Vegas, Nevada. I come at divorce with two different backgrounds. I have obviously my JD, but I also have a master in social work. And I've really tried to integrate the skills that I learned in the social work program. I worked as a child custody mediator. I did a lot of research and writing on co-parenting education. So I try to integrate that into the person's experience. So while I do primarily non-litigated divorce, I do help out on cases that are litigated. And the reason I do that is I'm oftentimes brought in to support the people to either help provide some skills for emotional agility going through this process, or maybe co-parenting education so that the person feels more empowered. And that's really my big goal for everybody, is to help them through the process, feeling supported, maybe even walking away with some additional skills that they didn't have at the start.
Well, that's amazing because we don't usually think of getting benefits out of going through the process, even though certainly, I mean, I've picked up a few. I love that you have this background in social work. We call attorneys like you unicorns because especially our community is dealing with various types of domestic violence, and everyone's always looking for lawyers that get it, that understand them. And I think there's a general lack of education. We know divorce is so difficult anyway, and high conflict is even more so because it kind of defies logic.
It
So,
does. It does. And I
yeah.
don't know if anybody is sort of kept up, but we had a horrible situation happen in Las Vegas a week ago at a deposition where um, it was a high conflict custody dispute, and there were attorneys representing family members, and the former father-in-law, I don't know if anybody saw that,
I read that.
was very
Yeah.
violent, and a real call, I think, for our profession in general to really always, at every point along the way, how can I bring the temperature down here? How can I bring the temperature down? And I think, especially in litigated situations, that's often a really good question for everybody to have in their head. It's not about giving in or saying, "Oh, I just don't want to deal with this," but it is being smart about what you say and what you do. And one of the things that I feel very strongly about is helping all people going through divorce, which in my opinion is a life challenge, to go through it with some skills to build emotional agility. And what I mean by that is I never want a person making an important decision when they're not in a neutral emotional state. I don't want them avoiding it and just being like, I just want to get done with it. And I also don't want them so entangled in the emotion that they're like, I'm going to, that's it. I want to do X, Y, Z. So I really think that building up a reserve of those skills, while not on its own going to be enough, is an important component of this process as people go through it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that's an interesting balance to try to do, because we hear both sides. We hear, and mostly we hear, I just want to get it done. I'll do anything to get out of this, because our community tends to be the people who have been stuck in it for a while and they're exhausted and they don't understand that giving in isn't going to make it end. And then
Yeah.
the other side has that emotional entanglement, like and some of our clients do too. Like, I've invested so much money and so much time already that I want to make sure I get something that's fair, or I want to have justice.
Right. And, you know, obviously, your community is a very unique community. They are facing certain challenges above and beyond the average person who's facing a big challenge going through a divorce. There's a lot of sensitivities, I think, for professionals who are working with people who've been, to put it mildly, in an imbalanced power relationship. And for me, when I do mediations, because I do joint mediations, I also do amicable divorce, which I think Tracy, as you remember from amicable divorce, she's like, it's not that the people have to be amicable, it's just that the attorneys have to be amicable,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is huge. And I would say that to the extent you pick an attorney who is not going to, like, be in it with you and just be as angry as you. You know, your attorney should be objective. They're your leader through the process. They're your tour guide. They are not there to cry with you, and they are not there to get angry with you. They're there to give you good, solid advice to move you forward, keep you on a good path. So I think in terms of choosing an attorney, you know, I've heard people say, like, I want a pit bull, you know, I want a real tough person. Well, I get where that's coming from, because if you've been in a position where you've been taken advantage of, or you're scared, or you're feeling fragile, it feels good to know that you might have somebody who's, you know, can defend you almost, or take care of you. But what you want is somebody who's obviously going to do that, but has the temperament to ratchet things down as opposed to ratcheting them up. To be thinking always of settlement solutions at the same time as preserving what I would consider like the basic hierarchy of needs. So we want to make sure clients are safe, but we also don't want to just have litigation for the sake of litigation in that realm. So I think that's a very important step for people who are in this position. And I also think that, um, to the extent that before decisions are made and you're moving forward, that you can do a little bit of preparation. I would say that every divorce, whether it's litigated, whether it's a mediation, whether it's amicable, they all start the same, in terms of the process. Putting aside if there is a domestic violence issue, that's obviously a totally separate thing from the divorce. The divorce itself is going to be gathering information on your assets, on your debts, on your income and expenses. If you have children, you're going to be considering different parenting options. So I think it's very helpful, because usually in marriages, you have one person who's the primary financial person, and maybe the other person does other things. If you're not the primary financial person, you want to get familiar with it. You want to know what you both have. Um, when clients come in with a lot of information, it's so helpful for me, because it lets me sort of see where they're starting from, and it cuts down a bit on the cost, because you're not necessarily having to ask them for so much information and process it. I think, you know, in amicable divorce, we are fortunate to have been introduced to the Detour.life program. What I love about that is that it puts that cost of document preparation and gathering and uploading information, it takes it out of the law office's side and puts it into the client's side. And that's great for a couple of reasons. The obvious one, it's not costing money to have a paralegal, you know, hey, could you send this? And then they upload it and all that. The people are doing it. But it's also, again, so empowering to see your financial situation. You have access to it. You know exactly what you have, what you're doing. You can share that information, for example, with a financial analyst. You know, we have a number of certified divorce financial analysts that help people kind of get reorganized financially outside of divorce. So I think that is a really super thing people can do. If I was to give 2 tips to the people in this community, number one, be smart about the attorney that you choose. And number two, do as much as you can gathering information so that you're ready to begin the process.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said so much there. I'm like scribbling a bunch of things that I want to circle back to.
Yeah.
First, you said how what you do really tries to focus on a person's hierarchy of needs. In terms of divorce, I know for me and for lots of our clients, our children and their safety moving forward tends to be one of the biggest concerns. What are some other things that you think are really or should be taken into consideration when it comes to like, what do I need as I'm going through this process and to think about for after?
Well, okay, let's talk for a moment about a couple things. And again, I want to say that there's the divorce, and then there are people who are in a domestic violence situation. If you are in a domestic violence situation, the divorce can wait. It's all about safety. It's about creating safe space around you. It's about making sure that when you go to sleep at night, you feel comfortable and secure in your environment. When you've achieved some level of feeling okay in that realm, then you can pivot into more of the traditional divorce realm. Now, the things I am going to say, I'm going to be very clear that this is not necessarily always possible when you have somebody on the other side who is perhaps is dealing with, and I've got to think that most people who are in this situation, the person who's committing the domestic violence, they have their own issues. That is why they are in this situation. It's not excusing it, but that will be a person that might be harder to work with on a co-parenting. However, co-parenting and in helping your children through the process, there are some really basic rules that you can kind of set as a framework. I talk to my clients about value-based decision making. So what is that? We talk sometimes about what someone deserves, justice being served, those type of things. That is not value-based decision making. Value-based decision making is when you take a value that's important to you. So let's say it's your children's well-being, their ability to get through the divorce. And you say, okay, I'm going to filter every text, everything I say, everything I do, every choice I make, assuming I have emotional agility and can do this, and I'm going to filter it through that value. So we know that with children going through divorce, they talk about the CPRs. And I think it was Lois Gold who initially established this, but I could be wrong. So C is continuity. So kind of keeping routines consistent, bedtimes consistent, activities consistent. I know that's not always possible, especially in the early stages. But as soon as you can create more continuity in your children's lives, excellent. Number two is protection. Protection from the divorce itself, from being involved, from, I'm not saying your kids can't see you expressing emotion, but you should never be talking to your children, and I'm even talking adult children, about the intricacies of the divorce. They don't want to be a part of it. And the R is really reassurance. And with the reassurance is like, hey, we've got this taken care of. And I always use the analogy of the flight attendant on the airplane. So, it's turbulent. Something's going a little wonky. Everybody looks at the flight attendant. If the flight attendant is freaking out, the entire plane is going to freak out. As parents, we are the flight attendants for our children, and we can be honest with them and say this is a challenging time, but we're going to get through this. Dad and I are going to figure it out. Mom and I are going to figure it out. We try to reassure them with that. We try to give kids the ability to express how they're feeling. Emotional expression alone, without anything else, is going to help your children. And ways that we can do that, guessing the feeling that a kid could have is very helpful. Oh, I imagine you might feel such and such. And then if it gets them talking, you be quiet and you let them talk a bit. You're not going to get the, how are you doing? Fine, fine,
Mhm.
fine. You got to kind of engage a little bit more. And the one that's probably the hardest for people that are dealing with really challenging co-parents are the co-parent who's poisoning against you, the co-parent who is not, you're not able to work with, who has said mean things to the kids, done mean things. And to some extent, we always have to remember that these kids are part mom, part dad. So when you're talking about the other parent being a bad person, at some level, you're talking about the child, that's half the child. So we have to be really sensitive to that. And, even offering and saying, I don't know why mom said that. I don't know why dad said that. But you know what? We all say things sometimes. And, again, I temper all of this with saying, if you're interacting with really challenging people and really challenging co-parents who are off the charts, off the realm of normalcy, you really do want to bring in therapists for your children, therapists for yourself. You want to surround yourself with a community that can help you process it. I'm more talking about, the kind of tit for tat, and your mom doesn't want such and such, and your dad doesn't, we can have a little bit of grace in those more regular situations so that your kids feel not agitated about the situation. We're just trying to help them live their lives. One of the things I gauge is, what is a child's normal developmental task that they're supposed to be completing at a certain age? And then how does divorce impact that? And I usually provide for my clients, I give them that information. I'll say, okay, here's where your child, these are the normal developmental tasks. Here's how divorce can impact it. Here's maybe some things you can do to help keep it on track. So I think those are some of like my best, quick and dirty co-parenting suggestions on that.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered the question before I did, about how to handle when kids are coming back and relaying these poisonous messages. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Dara, but that's the topic of our current book, of like how to
Oh,
handle it when an ex is trying to turn the kids against you in court and in life, because that's one of the most common issues that we see in our community, and one of the most heartbreaking. It's kind of goes along with a lot of stuff that our clients deal with, and they often say, I don't know what to do, and the courts don't recognize that. And I understand you don't spend time in the courts dealing with it,
no,
but I like
here's the
how you
here's
said
the
that
thing.
one thing.
Here's the thing I'm going to throw out to everybody. And this is really a little bit of a generality, but every single day you have all these opportunities where you interact with your children. When you've created a calm environment in your house and the other person maybe doesn't have that, when you've created, when you're not overwhelmed with emotion and you're able to be there and help them express what they're feeling, they're not going to recognize it per se, like, oh, my mom did XYZ and it made me feel better. They're going to come to connect the parent that's doing those things, that's not speaking ill about the other, person, who's honest and saying, like, I'm not really sure why they're doing that. They're really having a hard time, but, and then pivots off of that subject to something else, brings them away from the conflict, brings them to their life, has a calm home environment, and makes them feel heard, provides them with the support that will build up day by day by day by day, year by year. And when all is said and done, and these children are grown, they're going to know the score. Even if you didn't tell them, they're going to know the score. A lot of people feel like they want to correct untruths.
Mhm.
So the the other parent said, well, you did such and such, and that's why there's a divorce. And you can, the natural impulse is to defend yourself, like, I didn't do that, I wouldn't say that, and no, and then you're putting your child in the position of the judge who's weighing the different evidence. We don't want that. What we want to do is say to the child, this is really, this is really a challenging time for dad and I right now, or mom and I. I use dad and I because, I'm the mom in this relationship, hypothetically. But we are going to work it out. It's nothing that you have to worry about. We both love you very much. And it's kind of like always going through this. Your kids are going to see who you are by how you act, less on what you say and what you try to convince them of. They'll just see it through conduct as opposed to, persuasive argument, I guess I would say. It's a real
Yeah,
challenge.
and
I mean, it is a
oh,
real challenge.
yeah, for sure. And when you were talking earlier, and now again about those CPR, the continuity, protection, and reassurance, I was thinking about how I recently learned the term self-regulation and
Mm-hmm.
co-regulation, and how there's so much that we can't control that goes on outside of our atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's so important to figure out whatever we need to do to sort of self-regulate or calm ourselves down so that we can help our children co-regulate or process what's going on. And so what you're describing about like trying to deflect from the conflict with the
Mm-hmm.
kids when they come back and say, well, the other parent says this about you, to sort of say, I don't understand why, and then change the
Right.
subject or have them focus on their own lives, because sometimes we feel like as adults, what matters to us is our kids are experiencing the same way, but they're really not. I mean, it's the center of our world and our kids are experiencing pain, etc., but it's not the way we are. And we forget, like, they really don't want to be involved in it. They
Right.
want to do their
Right.
thing. And so the other thing with that feeling like making the child the judge, we've heard similar ways of saying it. I think of it as one party is telling the kids, oh, your other parent is so bad.
Right.
If the kid comes back to you and repeats it, if you do this, if you say, no, that's not true, this is what really happened, you're basically doing the same kind of behavior as the other
Exactly.
parent. Each person is telling the child, this is real, this is real. The child is thinking, I love my parents, I don't know who's lying, and I don't
By
really
the
care.
way, by the way, I have a couple things I want to add just to be
Sure.
sure I get them in. First of all, now I'm gonna put my attorney hat back on. Let's talk about best interests of the children. At least in Nevada, one of the 9 factors, or I can't remember, 11, 9, whatever they are now, one of the factors is who's more likely to promote a relationship with the other parent. So, by the way, when you don't engage in that behavior, you bolster your litigation case as well, because you're doing the precise conduct that the court wants to see from a parent, because they want both parents to facilitate a relationship with the other parent. That's number one. Number two, as parents, so much of what we do is modeling correct behavior. And, I heard this expression once that said, challenge is the fertilizer for growth. And I would have to agree with it. I think I've grown the most in the most challenging times of my life. Divorce is an early challenge encountered for children. So some people might say, oh my God, I just wanted them to have the perfect childhood. But here's what I will say: the child who's had a little bit of challenge, who's learned through the behavior that their parent has modeled in that challenge, is going to learn how to deal with challenges. And I'm sorry, life is full of them. And by the time that child gets to be a young adult or college or in their own lives, they're going to have a stronger skill set because of the very same way that we modeled saying please and thank you when they were younger. We're modeling how to get through challenge, and we're modeling emotional regulation. And the last thing I want to say, I'm going to make a plug. I have no interest in this company, but I love it. So there's an app called 10% Happier. And every one of my clients is offered a year subscription to this. I just include it because I believe in it so much. 10% Happier was created by Dan Harris. He was, I never watched it, but he was a Good Morning America weekend co host who apparently is notorious for having an on air panic attack. Um, he really got into meditation. Don't get scared. Meditation, I know it's a scary word. This is meditation for regular people. This is not meditation sit, and this is meditation like you're on a walk and you're listening to it. So 10% Happier has a course called Emotions, and it's taught by Oren Sofer. And I base um, all of my teachings about emotional agility. I start with that course, and I just go into a lot of detail with clients at how to apply it in the divorce situation. I cannot recommend this enough for people. I've probably listened to his full course at least 8 times. I love it so much. It's really about being able to recognize emotions. Sorry, you can hear my dog in the background.
Yeah, that's okay.
Being able to recognize emotions, understand how you respond to emotions physically, mentally. Do you get pulled away and you want to avoid them, or do you get pulled into them? And strategies to mitigate those two things to kind of keep you in balance. So I highly recommend 10% Happier. Um, it's a great app, and I recommend Oren's course. I think a follow-up course on there would be the relationships course, which is about communication. Even though it says relationships, it's really great information.
That's wonderful. I mean, we teach communication with our clients, but not that kind of communication, I'm sure. But yeah, that's really helpful. I was thinking, because as a professional with this unicorn background, and knowing that our clients are dealing with difficult people, what are some ideas that we could try to put a fence around litigation? So let's say someone knows they're going to be divorcing a challenging person. How can they kind of be led into dealing with professionals who are less likely to fan the flames? Is there anything we can do?
Right, right. Okay, so it's really interesting because I'm actually helping out on a litigation matter right now where it's high conflict and there's issues of domestic violence. But one of the things that was said was that the other person really doesn't want to go to court. And it's interesting because even, as long as you can put the right guardrails on it, and again, it's really hard for me to speak because my background and training in domestic violence starts first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth with safety
Mhm.
and security. So assuming that that is, taken care of, um, I think that you can look in the Amicable Divorce Network. Most of the attorneys in the network in Las Vegas do both litigation and amicable divorce. I only do non-litigated divorce. Um, that person with that type of mindset is always going to be looking at, hey, I don't want to fan the flames of this. Amicable divorce is challenging because both sides have to have an amicable divorce attorney.
Right.
This is how it stays outside. And I had a new attorney say to me today, she's like, well, don't you have to file the complaint just to get it started? I'm like, we don't file anything until the marital settlement agreement is signed, and we just file uncontested pleadings at the end. It's just
Yeah,
paperwork.
I want you to also reiterate, because we're talking about high conflict people, but
Right.
that it's not the people, and it's interesting. But just because you have a high conflict ex doesn't mean you are going to have a high conflict divorce. If you
Right.
have two professionals who can work very well together, that will make things amazing.
You
That
know,
doesn't always happen.
I sometimes say to clients, and I hope this doesn't make me sound manipulative, that it's like manipulation for a higher goal.
We call
So,
it influence.
influence. Okay. So, everybody, you've been living with this person, you know this person, you know what pushes their buttons, and you know what matters to them. Are they kind of a spendthrift? Do they look closely at money? Or is it more of an ego thing for them? Like, what is their thing? If you can find if you can think about them and then you can find a way to connect the process with something that they value. So let's say you have somebody who's like, I'm concerned about where my money is going. I might have a lot of money, but I'm concerned about it. So that person is going to probably be persuaded by the fact that, non-litigated divorce is so much cheaper. I just did a $25 million estate divorce, amicable divorce, and I think total fees, and they had some other issues that were going on that had to be dealt with. But I think the total fees on each side was, and I go, this is not a lot of money. I just want to say that, like, this seems like a lot of money to me, but still, it was about 10,000 on each side, soup to nuts.
Yeah,
So,
that's amazing considering our clients, like the average is in the hundreds of thousands plus millions of dollars.
oh my God. Okay. So again, I'm always, I'm the attorney that says in my retainer, I say to my clients, hey, I'm always going to give you the option to do something if you can do it because it will save you
Yeah.
money. So like I'm very,
Yeah.
very
My
sensitive
divorce
to
attorney
that.
was like that, and
And
I
you
loved him
don't
for
have
that.
to.
No, but I think it's great because people coming out of relationships like our communities have been disempowered. And this is an opportunity to say, like, I can make some choices. I have to make some choices for myself because this is the rest of my life and my kids' lives. And there's big changes now.
Yeah. And I also think it's so important. I think we have to, as attorneys, our job is to strengthen this person bit by bit. And so when you have someone who's been in a domestic violence situation, they are very, very fragile to start with. So you don't empower them right out of the gate with, so, okay, you can do this and this and this. No, you start small and you make sure to they feel good. And then, these are wonderful people, intelligent, professionals in professions and doing things. And I believe that our job is to slowly help them remember who they always were.
Mhm.
Maybe that
Yeah.
person got a little bit lost along the way. And so, yeah, I think finding an attorney who you just know in your heart, like, I connect with this person. This person sort of shares my values. I think that's important. I was involved in a litigation matter, and on the other side was a criminal defense attorney who did family law. And God love him, he had testosterone to spare. So, um, unfortunately, he just liked to fight about a lot of stuff. And we would say, "Oh, what about this parenting plan? Or what about this?" Like, and the client spent a lot of money because we were preparing these settlement proposals, and that takes time and effort. And then that other attorney was like undoing it. If there'd been someone on the other side who was more engaged in trying to get settlement, it would have been much, much less expensive. So, one of the things that I've started doing when a client comes in for a consultation and thinks that it can be an amicable divorce, I actually give them a letter that they can give to their spouse. And it'll say something like, it's from me to them. Like, I've heard about your situation. It sounds like you guys might be a really good fit. I talk about the process. I talk about the cost savings. I talk about keeping the conflict low. And I give them a list of all the other attorneys that they can contact. That's been helpful. It's a weird thing because I have to kind of I have to create who the other person's going to have too. And that's a little bit challenging, especially in Nevada. We have 6 of us doing it. It means it has to be one of the other 5.
Mhm.
Um, for some people, though, if they're ego based, and I know Tracy mentioned this at the conference,
Yeah.
you might be in the position of having to say, maybe you've been having these discussions about it, saying like, hey, I was looking at this. I was just wondering, what do you think about this? I think it might be a good idea. And like, it becomes like it's their idea to do amicable divorce, and then they buy into it a little bit more. I really think that this is something I said to my kids, so I'll say it here. Um, Doing what you know to be right in the situation is oftentimes very different from doing what you think somebody might deserve in a situation. So it's kind of like being strategic, even in the pre divorce process. Um, you have to resist the urge to either fight back or say something not nice or escalate it, ladder it up, um, sometimes you have to just let stuff go and say, I mean, I don't know really what to say to that, but here's the thing: if you'd like to talk about doing this, I'd like to look at this path. So maybe when you're feeling more relaxed, we can do that. But something that isn't just responding in kind, because oftentimes, and this goes to this underlying concept of people who are oppositional, defiant, you know, they need to push against something. They need to push, and they push on it. But when this goes away, they they fall over. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
isn't there isn't a lot of, when you stop pushing back and you're in a safe place and you're like, the dance is not happening the same way. They're used to doing this move, you do this move, then they know they're going to do this move, and then you do this move. You change the dance on one side and suddenly it's totally different.
Yep.
So I keep saying this over and over again. People who are in a situation where their safety is an issue, where there's a power imbalance, this is much easier said than done. I don't mean to make light of this. I'm not trying to say like, oh, this is so, it's
No,
not. It's hard.
you're not coming off as that
Okay.
at all, Dara. I think a lot of it involves strategy, but also recognizing the leverage that you might have and figuring out ways to make, we are talking about high conflict exes, to make them feel like they continue to have power and are leading the process. And often we know that staying out of court, you actually do have a lot more power because you have a lot more say in things rather than giving the future of your lives to a third party. And that's also leverage. Again,
Oh my
because who
gosh.
wants to hand over
You
their authority to like a
took the words
stranger?
out of my mouth. Every single case I mediated, as part of my social work degree, I did a 300-hour mediation internship at the Conciliation Court in Los Angeles. So we mediated like 3 cases a day. Everybody who had a contested custody motion had to go through mediation first. And I would say those words to people all the time. I would say, who knows your children, your schedules, your life better than you? Nobody. Do not turn this over to somebody else. It will never be as good as what you can create. And so I could not agree more with you. I think again, the key here is if you can create the emotional agility, so you got some control over what you're saying you're doing, and if you don't, you break, you go off, you do some breathing exercises, you wait till you cool down 15 minutes. If you do nothing else in 15 minutes but don't interact with a person, your emotions are like the weather, they're going to change. It's not going to be this intensity.
Right. But
If you have
no
that,
one can think straight when they're emotional.
no. So you get that emotional agility. That's your superpower. Honestly, that's like your superpower. Then you keep things calm. Honestly, you keep it calm with the person, and you just keep setting this example of calmness, and you do it for yourself. You're like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I refuse to be in a state of crazy. I If you have to exit the situation, if you re-engage, however, you set some new ground rules. And often I find with clients in amicable divorce, because it's hard. I mean, please do not. My boss at work, who is a litigator, he's like, "Well, you do that kumbaya amicable divorce." I'm like,
Oh yeah, you're West Coast.
I go, people, when they're getting divorced, they're not happy with each other. Okay, don't think I've got people on both sides who are just like, "Oh, this is nothing." These people are upset. They're frustrated. They have real gripes from sometimes decades and decades of marriage. But what we tend to do in the amicable network is I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, I've got this. I'll talk to so and so about this. Don't talk with them about this anymore. And they'll say to me like, I mean, I don't know, our relationship's never been this good. And I'm like, of course it is. We're having all the discussions that are hard. You're not having them anymore. So you can really use your attorney to have these discussions. So sometimes people in divorce, they say, well, I'm just going to talk to him about this because I can maybe work this out and we can just get this done. It doesn't work a lot of times. And you're almost better just to say, and I've told this when I do a joint mediation, I'll tell the clients, I'm like, you people are still living at home in the same house together. This is going to be hard. I don't want you talking to each other about these things. Let me talk with this person. Let me talk with this person. Let me figure it out. You guys don't need to talk about it. That's why you have me. You didn't get a mediator so that you could then mediate your own divorce. So pulling out those things that are really high intensity discussions and saving them for the attorneys, that's probably a smart idea.
Yeah. I was going to say also what you said before about being calm. I mean, that's the thing that we also focus on so much when we deal with presentation in so many formats with our clients. We say, we want you to be as calm as possible. And we're not going to tell you to calm down because that's inflammatory. inflammatory, but the way to be calm is to be really focused and organized, because there's so much fear with going through this. And people tend to think, well, I should just know what to do, and I've made all these mistakes. And it's like, that's okay. Most people haven't done this before. So that's why there's resources to help you. And once they understand like best interest factors or alienation factors, or what this means, it just calms things down. It's like, oh, now I know I don't have to be afraid of that because somebody else is helping me with it.
That's right. And so the other thing I do, and I was going to say, people from all over the country, with the understanding I'm in Nevada, so it's a little skewed towards, community property and also how we view things here. I give my clients, or I give consultations, like they come in for a consultation. I made a Divorce 101 book for people. And it says, like, the first part's on the attorney-client privilege. I always tell people to create a brand new email that they've never had before with a password that they've never used before and put it on one device.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're amicable, even if you're joint mediation, then for sure no one's reading your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I go through all the legal terms. What is physical custody? What is legal custody? If you're in Nevada, what is separate property? What is community property? What are all these legal terms I'm going to be hearing? So they have that reference. I talk about the stages of grief associated with divorce. I think that's a big one people gloss over. As you go through this process, your emotions are going to be all over the map, and they're going to be coming, you might get through one phase and think you're through it, and then you're right back in it. I think people need to understand that's okay. And telling people about it gives you an understanding of what's going on in your own head. I also include in there things that have just been personally helpful for me, everything from journaling, obviously meditating, compartmentalizing, how that works. My daughter came up with this, and she probably heard it somewhere, but using the 5 to 9 to improve the 9 to 5, like getting up earlier, to take a walk, to have some time that's just for yourself, that isn't about the kids, your marriage, your work, your divorce. So all of those things I have on a website. So I have a resource page. So everything that's in my Divorce 101 book is also on that website. So if anybody is interested in getting some more tips or
you took the question out of my mouth. I was going to say, Dara, tell people how they can find you and what you offer. And so you started mentioning what you have before telling them how to find you.
Yeah, and obviously, look, for me, and I'm going to be super honest, I'm 55. I came back to this with a very clear vision of how I wanted to help people. This feels like a vocation to me. This feels like my highest and best use on the planet is to help people through this process and let them come out the other side. So the information on there, it's like I just am trying to help as many people as possible. So if you want to find this, our firm's website is Canaan Law Group. So that's KAINENLAWGROUP.com. And here's the important part. You have to click on Holistic Divorce on that main page. And then that's going to actually jump you to a website that I created. And I had so much information. They were like, we can't put this on the main website. But it'll talks about mediation, talks about amicable, talks about meditation, talks about, I have podcasts that I've done and all the different terminologies on there on a blog. My dog is hungry. Okay. I'm probably going to have to go feed him. Yeah. So please, if there's anything, obviously if someone's in Nevada and they would like to come meet with me, they can schedule a consultation, but I just really wish everybody the best on it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dara. It's so refreshing, to talk to an attorney that gets it, that is so optimistic and also knows strategy and emotional agility.
Well, thank you
for
having me.
No, my pleasure. All right. So we will be in touch soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
Okay,
Be well.
Bye.